Hi everyone, I'm Frank LeBeau. Thank you for joining me today. What we're going to cover is the cardiovascular system today. And what I've done is I've drawn three separate pictures for you. I've got the anterior view of the heart, the posterior view of the heart, and the inside view of the heart, as if we were to cut it open and take a look at it. And join me while I color in the pictures, and then after that we'll talk about the anatomy and the flow of the blood in the heart. Well, welcome back. That was fun. What we're going to do is talk about the anterior view and just hit some landmarks on it here. So if you zoom in, what we got here is the superior vena cava, the inferior vena cava. We'll talk about what the purpose of that is. And then here you got your right pulmonary veins and arteries going through here. You got your right atrium, ascending and descending aorta. We'll talk about the function of that in a minute. Your left pulmonary artery goes to your left lung. Your left pulmonary veins is returning. Here's your left atrium and coronary arteries and veins. So one thing I want to point out is where you see red, that means it's oxygenated blood. Where you're seeing the blue, bluish purple, is blood without oxygen in it. Okay? So here's a posterior view. This is kind of neat because we almost never see the backside of the heart, right? All you ever see is pictures. Well, you see pictures like this, right? Definitely not it. So that's not going to cover it. So I drew the back side of the heart for you so we can get a good idea. One thing I want to focus in on is, remember this right here on the anterior side, or the superior vena cava. It looks like it's kind of gumming on the back side of it. So when we come over here to the back side, what we can actually see is it's coming in through the back, and then look at where it comes out. It doesn't just come straight out the bottom. It actually comes out the back of the heart, and it comes down. So that's what we're looking at there. Here we have your left pulmonary artery, okay, and your right pulmonary, so left and right. Here's your left atrium. We'll talk about these things here in a minute. Your left ventricle, your right ventricle. So basically, if this was flipped over here, you would see your right atrium. Flip it over. Here's your right atrium there, and so on. And then we just talked about the vena cava here. So let's move on over here to the interior view. So what we're going to do is point out just a couple of landmarks again, just so that we know where we are, and then I'm going to discuss about how the flow of the blood goes through this. So here we have your superior vena cava. Okay, you can see that blood is coming down this way. Now here's your inferior vena cava. Blood's also coming up this way. So they meet to a junction point, and where do they go? Well, they come right here into your right atrium. When they accumulate in this right atrium, that's a lot of pressure in there, and that pressure presses on these valves, and these valves are called your tricuspid valves. So basically, your blood is filling up right in here, and there's a lot of pressure, and it opens up, and it floods right in here into your right ventricle. This whole space is your right ventricle. So during a contraction, it's going to force the blood up through here, but we'll get to that in a second. What causes the contraction is this septum right here. Septum meaning it divides your right from your left, and this basically is a muscle tissue, and this muscle has electrical impulses that flows through it, and that's what causes a contraction. When this contraction occurs, the blood leaves the right ventricle and it passes through your pulmonic valve into your pulmonary artery, which then is going to split into two different directions, right? So it's going to go to your right lung into your left lung. And when that happens, it goes out this way. It's going to get oxygenated because what color is it? It's purplish blue, so that means there's no oxygen in it at this time. It goes to the lungs where it picks up oxygen and it returns right here through your right pulmonary veins. When it comes through this, it now is funneling back behind this into this space right here. Also, your other lung is bringing it through your left pulmonary veins, and that's accumulating here. Just like this one, it's gonna build up pressure and it's gonna force it down through this mitral valve. And when that happens, it's gonna dump down in here into your sorry, I had to clear my throat. Into the left ventricle, and that's just going to fill up. All that pressure holds it in here, and then again, when this contraction occurs, it's going to force it up right here through your aortic valve, which is this bit right here, and this is the beginning of your aorta. And when it comes around here, you can see it wants to curve around, but it's also going to bring blood flow to your arms and to your head. And when that happens, it's going to bring it back around this way, and the descending aorta, the purpose of that is to bring blood flow to the lower body. So just as a quick overview, we're just going to run through this real fast. You have blood coming this way, it forces down through here. Blood is also coming from the lungs down into here, and when there's a contraction, it contracts, and then that forces blood to the rest of the body. It's actually fairly simple, but it's also a magnificent thing. All this takes place all the time, and we're not even thinking about it, right? We're just everyday life, and the heart is constantly working. It never gets tired. It never complains about the overtime, right? It's a pretty awesome system that we have, and to take a close look at it like this is kind of neat. I'm pretty impressed with it. But that's our video, and hope you guys learned something from it, and I'll catch you next time.